Hi. Today we will explain the storyline of the movie Jennifer's Body, released in 2009. Well, let's get straight to the story. Anita Lesnicki, aka Needy, a high school girl, experienced a drastic change in behavior after a murder tragedy occurred in her hometown in the small town of Devil's Kettle. Since the incident, Needy has become one of the most aggressive patients at the Olympics Psychiatric Hospital. Needy was once just a nerdy teenager and didn't have many friends. However, she had a best friend named Jennifer, a popular cheerleading captain. That day, after watching Jennifer cheerleading, Jennifer persuaded Needy to accompany her to a seedy bar to see the popular youth rock band Devil's Kettle perform. At exactly 8:30 p.m., Jennifer picked Needy up at home, where Needy's boyfriend, Chip, was stopping by. After some small talk and joking around, Jennifer and Needy set off for the bar. Not long into the wait, the much-anticipated band finally took the stage. When she invited Needy, Jennifer admitted that she had come just to get close to the band's lead singer, Nikolai. Jennifer then approached the stage and greeted Nikolai, who immediately greeted her back and chatted with Jennifer and Needy. In contrast to Jennifer, Needy was not enamored with Nikolai. After giving a few hints of her liking, Jennifer offered to buy Nikolai a drink. Without hesitation, Nikolai accepted the offer. While Jennifer orders a drink from the bartender, Needy waits at the ding-dong machine where he overhears Nikolai talking about Jennifer with his bandmates. Here, Needy is shocked and offended to hear that Nikolai wants to get close to Jennifer because he thinks she is a virgin. Boldly, Needy confronts Nikolai and tells him that Jennifer wouldn't want to sleep with someone like him. Nikolai paused to listen to Needy. However, he didn't care and continued to signal his band to start. Just then, Jennifer arrived with 2 drinks. Needy immediately told his best friend that Nikolai wanted to fuck her. Jennifer was dumbfounded, but she still admired Nikolai. She was mesmerized as the music played and Nikolai continued to stare at her. In the middle of the performance, a fire suddenly broke out. The fire spread quickly, causing a chaotic situation as patrons ran to get out of the bar. However, the band continued with the song until the fire was fully engulfed and Jennifer was transfixed as if hypnotized. Seeing the panic around him, Needy automatically pulled Jennifer out through an alternative route at the bathroom window. Reluctantly, Jennifer followed Needy to safety in the bar's parking lot. Surprisingly, Jennifer still looked dazed and stared blankly. While Needy is trying to revive Jennifer, Nikolai shows up and invites them out with his band in his van. Nikolai says he knows a more comfortable place as he hands Jennifer a cold drink. Needy, meanwhile, didn't trust Nikolai. Moreover, the man had a van with very dark glass. In contrast, Jennifer complies when Nikolai pulls her into the van without even trying to resist. Fretting, Needy continued to persuade Jennifer not to go with Nikolai. However, Jennifer tells Needy to cancel her dinner plans and join Nikolai. Still, Needy refused to accompany Jennifer. She had a bad feeling, especially seeing Nikolai's handsome but terrifying appearance. Needy could only watch in silence as Jennifer left with Nikolai and his band. Needy went home and called Chip. Frantically, she told him what happened at the bar and her concerns for Jennifer. Suddenly, her doorbell rang. Needy went downstairs to check on her guests, but no one was there. Once back inside, Needy hears a noise from the kitchen. She checked to make sure she hadn't heard anything wrong. At first, she thought it was the sound of water dripping from the dishwasher faucet. As it turned out, it was Jennifer. Needy gasped at Jennifer's condition, which was not like her own. Jennifer was covered in blood and she didn't answer Needy's questions about what happened. Jennifer just grinned, then looked for food in Needy's refrigerator. After swallowing some food, Jennifer vomited a huge amount of mysterious black liquid. Realizing something was wrong, Needy tried to call for help, but Jennifer stopped her, scaring Needy and biting Needy's neck. Without any explanation, Jennifer stormed out of Needy's house. The next day, their teacher at school informed them that 8 people from their school had died in a fire last night. Instead of feeling condolences, Jennifer smiled as if it was good news. That day, she also looked normal, not as strange as Needy had seen her last night at her house. After class, Needy meets Chip and tells him what she experienced last night at home. Chip responds casually that Needy is devastated by the fire tragedy and is seeing things. On the other hand, Jennifer meets Jonas, one of her schoolmates and high school football pride, who is mourning his friend who died in the fire. Jennifer sympathizes with Jonas's loss and takes him for a walk in the woods. Here, Jennifer seduces Jonas into sleeping with her. Jonas senses that something is wrong. Forest animals have sprung up around them. However, as soon as Jonas lets his guard down, Jennifer devours him like a wild animal. In the distance, one of the teachers hears an unusual scream from the forest. To his utter surprise, one of his students lies dead. The gruesome scene was immediately taken care of by the local police. The police who attended the crime scene concluded that it was a case of murder with a motive of cannibalism. Jonas's death had once again made the town of Devil's Kettle a newspaper headline. Some help is coming to their town. Students at Needy's school also mourned Jonas while singing the band Nikolai's song, which had a farewell theme. After some time passed, the song became so popular that Needy was sick of it. The only student who seemed unfazed by the sad news was Jennifer. Needy thought the whole tragedy was no coincidence. Moreover, the way Jonas died was brutal and hard to understand. However, they slowly recovered from their grief. Nikolai's band even decided to donate some of the profits from their song to the victim's family. The next day, one of the students named Colin, who had a long-time crush on Jennifer, tried to ask her out. However, with a flat expression, Jennifer turned him down. Needy was amazed to see Jennifer refuse without any burden. He said he thought Colin was pretty cool. Hearing that confession, Jennifer changed her mind. She calls Colin and tells him to come to her house tonight. Colin, of course, was delighted to hear Jennifer's invitation. After agreeing to Colin's date, Chip called Needy. With a meaningful glance, Jennifer greeted Chip. Needy immediately felt that Jennifer was trying to seduce Chip, so she told Chip to kiss her in front of Jennifer. Hours later, Colin arrived at the address Jennifer had given him. However, the address was just an empty house that looked like it was being renovated. Colin entered hesitantly while calling Jennifer's name. As it turned out, Jennifer had prepared a special room upstairs with many candles lit. Without much ado, Jennifer began to seduce Colin. However, Colin recoiled in fear because he saw something strange in Jennifer's eyes. Jennifer continued to advance until Colin was cornered and hurt his hand. At that moment, Jennifer immediately attacked Colin to death. That same night, Needy and Chip had planned a special moment together in Chip's room. At first, they were just having fun, but Needy suddenly had a terrifying vision of Jennifer. She abruptly ends her date with Chip, then rushes out of Chip's house. On the way, Needy almost bumped into Jennifer, who ran sneaking from the darkness. Her body was covered in blood. This made Needy break suddenly and become even more frightened. In a hysterical state, she returned home and calmed down in her room. However, instead of peace, he found Jennifer waiting on his bed, clean as if nothing had happened. Needy threatened to call the police, but Jennifer made him change his mind. Jennifer says she no longer wants to keep secrets from Needy. She begins to tell him what happened to her the night of the fire, with Nikolai and the rest of the band. Jennifer admits to seeing some books about devil worship and black magic in the van. Nikolai and his friends also showed their true, violent nature. She felt anxious, but she couldn't just run away. Until the car pulls up to the edge of the Devil's Kettle waterfall, which has a mysterious and deep tomb. In fact, scientists have not yet managed to solve where the center of the tomb is. Upon arrival, Jennifer tries to run away, but Nikolai catches her. Nikolai said that this crescent night was the right time to perform the ritual, as instructed in the cult book. Jennifer cried out for her to be released, but they ignored her. They then tied Jennifer up and gagged her. One of the band members wanted to resign, but Nikolai persuaded him not to miss the ritual that would bring them fame. Nikolai then recites a sacrificial incantation to the devil. With great difficulty, Jennifer urged Nikolai to stop the ritual and negotiate. Of course, Nikolai didn't want to. He argued that his band was tired of trying to make it big, but no producer would sign them. For this reason, Nikolai thought the only way was to ask the devil for help. Nikolai explained what he was going to do to Jennifer, then pulled out a knife. Without hesitation, Nikolai stabbed Jennifer so many times that she made no sound. They thought she was dead. Nikolai then threw the knife into the waterfall. Jennifer said she doesn't remember anything after the incident other than walking home very hungry. On the way, she ran into a schoolmate named Amit. Amit was an Indian student participating in an exchange program at Jennifer's school. He was a survivor of the fire in the bar until he met Jennifer. After slaughtering Amit, Jennifer went to Needy's house. Since then, Jennifer claims she has become immune to pain and can miraculously heal her own wounds. Suddenly, the horrific events that Jennifer experienced made Needy sympathize. However, after this confession, Jennifer annoyed Needy. Needy tried to explain the origin of the blood on Jennifer's body that she saw in the middle of the road. Jennifer instead accused her of hallucinating and advised Needy to seek psychiatric help. Needy then threw Jennifer out of her room, who left without a trace through Needy's bedroom window. This surprised Needy because her room was on the second floor and there was no way Jennifer could have gotten down easily. The next day, Needy attended Colin's funeral. Seeing Colin's devastated mother, a plan emerges in Needy's mind. Meanwhile, at school, the atmosphere of mourning is less pronounced since Jonas's death. On the other hand, all the students are enthusiastically preparing for the upcoming spring dance. Needy was determined that Colin would be the last victim. She also does research in the library, specifically about the supernatural world. Needy found a book describing a demon called a succubus, whose ritual involved the sacrifice of a virgin. He concluded that this was the demon that had possessed Jennifer since that night. According to the book, the succubus will continue to demand human flesh until its hunger is satisfied. The only way to destroy a succubus is to starve it and stab it in the heart. However, there was a mistake in the ritual Nikolai performed, namely that Jennifer was no longer a virgin. The book explained that the sacrifice would still pay off, but the demon would stay inside the sacrificed body. Needy pondered his next move without telling anyone. She had kept her distance from Jennifer since the argument in the room a few nights ago. This inevitably weighed heavily on her mind, and her relationship with Chip suffered. Needy decided to be frank with Chip. She says Jennifer has changed, becoming really evil. She then shows him the results of her search in the library. Needy claimed to understand how the demon made Jennifer more beautiful after being full of men, but turned pale and unattractive when hungry. Thus, according to him, the dance party would be a free buffet for Jennifer. Chip listened to all this in disbelief. He tried to make Needy feel less offended by his response, but Needy was already disappointed. As a result, Needy decided to temporarily end her relationship with Chip. However, she would still go to the dance to confront Jennifer. It's a tough decision for both of them, but Needy thinks it's for the best. The successive deaths made the parents anxious, not to mention Chip's parents. On the night of the dance, his mother gave him pepper spray just in case. On the other hand, Jennifer was slowly weakening. Her hair began to fall out and she had to cover her face, which had become very pale, with makeup. Needy arrived at the ballroom before Chip. He waited anxiously for Jennifer's arrival. However, after the dance room was crowded, Jennifer was nowhere to be seen. At that moment, Chip was walking alone in the middle of a deserted street. Suddenly, Jennifer intercepted him without knowing where she came from. She then invited Chip to chat briefly about Needy. Chip admitted that he was worried about Needy, who had been behaving strangely lately. Jennifer took advantage of the rift in their relationship to slander Needy for having an affair with Colin. Jennifer then tries to seduce Chip and convince him that Needy doesn't deserve a man as good as Chip. Unfortunately, Chip is taken in by Jennifer's words and takes Jennifer to a quieter place. On the other hand, the dance party has already started. Needy is shocked to learn that Nikolai's band is performing for them. She gives Nikolai a vengeful look and gets the feeling that Jennifer is with Chip. Needy rushed to Chip's house, but Chip's mom said Chip had left 20 minutes ago. Needy immediately ran back to where her feet were moving. She found the prom flowers Chip was supposed to give her in the park. Not far away, she heard Chip screaming for help. Needy immediately followed the source of the sound, which came from a disused swimming pool. Just then, Jennifer had bitten Chip's neck, but Needy was still able to save him. She lunged at Jennifer until she drowned and sprayed her with pepper spray. Jennifer screamed in pain and spewed black liquid from her mouth. She then floated in the air and tried to make Needy's guts shrink. Needy, however, was not deterred at all. She was frustrated at Jennifer's actions of targeting Chip just to make her angry. She retaliated against Jennifer's condescending remarks until Jennifer let her guard down. In the middle of their argument, Chip stepped forward and attacked Jennifer with a pole. However, it didn't kill her. only made her grimace in pain, then left the two of them. Chip, on the other hand, lost a lot of blood and was dying. Needy tried to dial an emergency call, but to no avail. She screamed in anguish as she watched Chip lose his life. After the incident, Needy went home. He slumped in his bed for a while, but got up again to avenge Jennifer and end the school massacre. Jennifer's own condition had recovered, and she was getting ready for bed. However, when the lights were turned off, she was not at all expecting Needy to burst through her window and attempt to finish her off in one fell swoop. Jennifer was able to fend off Needy's attack after attack, until Needy managed to slash Jennifer's stomach with a paper-cutting knife she had brought from home. Furious, Jennifer bit Needy and continued their fight while floating. Needy then saw their friendship necklace around Jennifer's neck. She forced it off, causing Jennifer to gasp and land back on the bed. At that moment, she was unprepared for Needy, who stabbed her in the heart. Jennifer breathed her last. The commotion in Jennifer's room made her mother wake up and check on her. She was shocked to see that her daughter had died at the hands of her best friend. Since then, Needy was never the same again. She became a temperamental girl who was ready to attack anyone. However, Needy did not forget the band that caused all this tragedy. Little did anyone know, Jennifer's bite had given her some of the devil's power. Needy now has so much power that she can easily escape from the asylum to hunt down Nikolai and his friends.